Hi everyone, we're back with the Bobbsey twins at school, Laura Lee Hope, and my daughter Kaylee. You say hi tonight? Peek in. Hello.
Hi.
Hello from the corner.
Hi.
The Bobbsey twins at school, Laura Lee Hope. It's late night. In case anybody was with us earlier, I've already been online for a couple of hours, so I think we're only going to do one chapter tonight. But here we go.
Because I'm tired.
Because we're all tired. So, Chapter 4, A New Pet. Mr. Bobbsey peered through the gloom. I can see something, he said.
The whole chapter.
It's coming nearer. Oh dear, cried Nan fearfully. Just then a bark sounded. A friendly bark. It's a dog, exclaimed Mrs. Bobbsey. Oh, I'm so glad it wasn't, well, an elephant. And she laughed at her own worries. Pooh, I wasn't afraid, bragged Freddie. If it was an elephant, I'd give him some peanuts and maybe he'd let me ride home on his back. And where'd you get the peanuts? Teased Mr. Bobbsey. The dog barked louder now, and a moment later he came into sight on a moonlit part of the path. The children could see that he was a big, shaggy white dog. He wagged his tail in greeting as he bounded up to them. Oh, how lovely he is, cried Nan. I wonder where he belongs. As the fine-looking animal came on, Bert snapped his fingers. Instantly, the dog stood up on his hind legs and began marching about in a circle. What a funny dog, cried Flossie. Down on his forelegs dropped the big white dog, and with another wag of his fluffy tail, he made straight for Flossie. Be careful, warned Dinah. He won't hurt her, declared Bert. This is a good dog. Anyone can tell that. Here, doggy, come on, come here. The dog barked a little, and coming up to Flossie again stood on his hind legs. Well, that's a good trick, said Mr. Bobbsey. This dog has been well trained. I wish he belonged to us, sighed Nan. Maybe we can keep him, especially if we don't find Snoop, suggested Freddie. The dog seemed to have made great friends with Flossie. She was patting him on the head now, for the animal, after marching about on his hind legs a second time, was down on all fours again. Oh, Mommy, he's awful nice, exclaimed Flossie. He's just as gentle and just as soft as the toy lamb I used to have. Indeed, he does seem to be a gentle dog, said Mrs. Bobbsey. But come along now, don't pet him any more or he may follow us. Flossie and whoever owns him, he would not like him to do that. Forward march, called Freddie, strutting along the moonlit path like a soldier. The Bobbseys and faithful Dinah started off again toward the distant bus stop. The dog sat down and looked after them. I wish we could take him home, said Flossie wistfully, waving to the dog. The Bobbseys had not gone very far before Nan called out, Oh, Dad, that dog is following us. They all glanced back at hearing this. Sure enough, the big white dog was running after them, wagging his tail joyfully and barking. Oh, this will never do, exclaimed Mr. Bobbsey. Whoever owns him may think we are trying to take him away. I'll drive him back. Go home, go back, exclaimed Mr. Bobbsey sternly. The dog stopped wagging his tail. Then he lay down on the path and calmly waited, his head between his forepaws. He looks sad, said Freddie. Maybe he hasn't any home, Daddy. Of course a valuable dog like that has a home, declared Bert. But maybe they didn't treat him kindly and he's looking for a new one, suggested Nan hopefully, as the dog came on again. He doesn't seem ill-treated, spoke Mrs. Bobbsey. Oh, I do wish he'd go back so we could go on. Go back, I say, cried Mr. Bobbsey in a loud voice. The dog stopped walking. I guess he won't follow us any more, said the twins' father uncertainly. Hurry along now, children. We are almost at the bus stop. He turned away from the dog and the family went on. For a minute or two the dog did not follow, but just as the Bobbseys were about to make a turn in the path, up jumped the animal and trotted after them. He was wagging his tail so fast that it seemed as if it would come loose. Is he following? Asked Flossie. He certainly is, answered Bert, who was in the rear. I guess he wants us to take him home with us. Oh, let's do it, begged Flossie. Please, Daddy, pleaded Freddie. We haven't got Snoop now, so let's have a dog. And I'm sure we could teach him to do more tricks He's so smart. But how can we take him on a bus? Asked Mrs. Bobbsey. The driver wouldn't let us. Maybe he would, if he was a nice man, suggested Freddie. We could tell him how we got the dog. Well, certainly the dog doesn't intend to lose us, said Mr. Bobbsey with a laugh, after he had tried 2 or 3 times to drive the animal back. We'll go on a little farther, suggested Mrs. Bobbsey. By the time we get to the road, he may get tired and go back. Oh, I hope he doesn't go back, cried Freddie. We want to keep him, said Flossie. He can run along behind the bus. I'll ask the driver to go slow, Daddy. The dog seemed to think that he was one of the family now. He came up to each one in turn and let them pat him. His tail kept wagging all the while. Well, we'll see what happens, decided Mr. Bobbsey. Freddie and Flossie walked on, the dog trotting along happily between them. There's the bus, exclaimed Bert as they went around another turn in the path and came to the road. In the distance could be seen the headlights of an approaching bus and a little nearer the lights of an oncoming automobile. Look out for the car, children, called Mrs. Bobbsey. They stood at the side of the road, and as the automobile came alongside, the man in it slowed down. It was a big car, and he was alone in it. Well, hello there, exclaimed the driver as the car stopped. If it isn't the Bobbsey family, twins and all, what are you doing here, Mr. Bobbsey? Well, hello, Mr. Blake, exclaimed Mr. Bobbsey, seeing that the driver was a neighbor and the father of one of Freddie's playmates. Our train was held up by a circus wreck, so we walked across the field to take a bus. We're homeward bound from the seashore. Well, a circus wreck, eh? Well, where did you get the dog? Oh, he followed us, said Mrs. Bobbsey. And we're going to keep him, too, exclaimed Flossie. And take him to the bus with us, added her twin. Let me take you home, offered Mr. Blake. I have this big empty car. Pile in, all of you, and I'll get you home in no time at all. Come, Dinah, I see you too, he added. Yes, sir, Mr. Blake, I'm here. Can't lose old Dinah. But we lost our cat Snoop and our silver cup, said Flossie. And we nearly ran over an elephant, added Freddie, bound that his sister should not tell all the news. Can we bring the dog too? Asked Flossie. Yes, there's plenty of room for the dog, laughed Mr. Blake. Lift him in. But the strange dog did not need any lifting. He sprang into the back of the car as soon as the door was opened. The others followed, taking seats in back and front. This is lovely, said Mrs. Bobbsey with a sigh of relief. And very kind of you, Mr. Blake. I'm only too glad I happened to meet you. Are you children comfortable? Yes, chorused Freddie and Flossie. And the dog? We're holding him so he won't jump out, explained Flossie. Oh, no fear of that, said the father dryly. On went the car, with Nan and Bert telling the adventures of the day. The journey seemed very short. Soon the Bobbsey home was reached. The lights are on in our house, exclaimed Nan, seeing a friendly yellow glow from one of the windows. I guess my hubby Sam, said Dinah, has the house all ready for us. It's good to be back again, said Mrs. Bobbsey, getting out of the front seat. Here we are, cried Mr. Bobbsey as Sam came onto the porch to greet them. Come, Flossie, Freddie, we're home. Flossie and Freddie did not answer. They were fast asleep, their heads on the shaggy back of the big white dog. And that's the end of Chapter 4. See you tomorrow night for Chapter 5. Good night.